Wildfire smoke is characterized by a complex mix of particles, vapors, and gases. The chemistry is very dynamic and heterogeneous depending on the type of fuel, the combustion conditions, weather, temperature, etc. So a very dynamic mixture. In toxicology, there's an old saying that the dose makes the poison. Wildfire smoke is toxic depending on the concentration and the specific chemicals involved. Obviously, carbon monoxide is an asphyxiant, and it's part of smoke if the concentration is sufficiently high. We know that particles cause adverse health effects in humans after being inhaled, and wildfire smoke has many particles. It's obviously, from that perspective, it can be toxic to humans and animals. Plants, there is less information known. In terms of the toxic constituents, the chemicals that are recognized to be highly toxic have oxidative stress capability, such as the polyaromatic hydrocarbons, but there are many other reactive gases like formaldehyde and acrolein that are present in wildfire smoke. There haven't really been good studies, mainly because wildfire smoke is such a heterogeneous mix. Cigarette smoke, on the other hand, is fairly well characterized. One should remember that there are really at least two types of cigarette smoke: mainstream cigarette smoke, which people are exposed to when smoking a cigarette, usually a filtered cigarette, so they only see the gases and vapors, whereas with wildfire smoke they see the whole mix. Side stream cigarette smoke, on the other hand, has that mix, and that may be one of the reasons why side stream cigarette smoke is more toxic than mainstream smoke. Our preliminary studies have shown that if you combust biomass material under smoldering or flaming conditions, that the chemistry can be quite radically altered. Specifically, we see more inorganic ions and an increase in polyaromatic hydrocarbons in the flaming combustion. We find that on a mass basis, these samples are typically more toxic than smoldering conditions. Prescribed burning typically is a mix of smoldering and flaming conditions, as are wildfires. We try and segregate the chemistry and the physiological responses with flaming and smoldering to understand the relationships between chemistry and health effects, but it should be understood that both flaming and smoldering occur both with wildfires and prescribed burns. There's only one study, to my knowledge, that has examined the toxicity of fresh versus aged smoke. And in that study, my colleagues found that mutagenicity, which is an indicator of cancer-causing capability, is increased as smoke is aged. This was due to the formation of reactive intermediates and increased oxidation of the chemicals in the smoke. More work has to be done. There's a good association between wildfire smoke and PM 2.5 levels. However, wildfire smoke has many other gas phase constituents. It would be nice if we could develop better monitoring to assess the total reactivity of the smoke through modern and new techniques. The regulatory monitoring sites do a great job of assessing the national framework of air pollution, but more should be done at personal monitoring sites to understand what individuals are exposed to. Okay. In addition to particulate monitoring, it would be good to measure other air toxics such as formaldehyde and other reactive products.